What's up, Music Maniacs? This is Dave or Dostone again. Spring break for me, so I'm not at school, and I got a process I want to show you, the process of making music. And I know that when I started first looking into DAWs and different things, it's super overwhelming because some of those things are subscription based and you have to pay a lot of money per month. Some of them are really intense, really complicated, and some of them are reasonably easy. But there's a huge learning curve if you're not at all a musician, if you're not familiar with it. And so I wanted to show you this process I have using FL Studio Mobile. Now I know that FL Studio, some people love it, some people don't. There's a huge argument about what DAW to use, what DAW not to use. Sometimes it's because of cost, whatever. FL Studio Mobile is reasonably inexpensive compared to all of the other DAWs that are out there. You can use it on your phone or a tablet. It's pretty straightforward for me. It has a lot of the same functions that you can use in a DAW that's on a computer. And there are a handful of other DAWs that you can use mobile, but I'm just gonna walk through and show you the process that I use to put a beat together, because DAWs can be overwhelming. There's a lot of different places where you can make music, put in beats and things. It's not necessarily intuitive. The fundamentals here are all the same when you're putting in music and putting in timing and putting in things for using your metronome and using all of those things. So I'm just going to show you what I do. Once you get familiar with FL Studio Mobile, all the other stuff is pretty straightforward, pretty easy to figure out. I like to work in 100 beats per minute. That's easier for me. And on this first one, I'm just going to go through instruments and just use a basic piano sound. And oftentimes I don't really have a plan of what I'm doing as I get into a sound, but I can start with chords. Sometimes I'll start with the bass line, sometimes I'll start with drums. But this is the piano roll, and that's just a C major chord. You don't necessarily have to know music theory in any way, what you're doing, but I'll go through and I'll put in a rhythm of what I think I want this song to sound like. One of the things that's hard to get used to is hearing the same thing over and over again. But for me, the process is hearing that and then hearing at the same time while that's running, what's going to add to that. So this chord progression is really simple. If you play keys at all, you've probably heard it. Listen to the blues, it's probably in there some. So it's really easy to just, on this mobile device, to just click in a note, and then once you click on it, drag that little dot to make it longer or shorter. One of the cool things is you can have it set to, when you create a new note, be the same time length as your previous notes. So I put on the metronome. And most loops are at least 4 bars long, 4 measures long. You could do a 2-bar loop, you could do a 4-bar loop, you could do an 8-bar loop, you could do a 12-bar loop, depending on the song, depending on the type of music that you're making. This is just a simple chord progression. And it's really easy to, on the key, on the phone or on the iPad, to accidentally mistype a note, so the undo button down there at the bottom is really helpful. There's a place I had to hit undo. Go back and fix that note later. Now this is the process that I feel like if you do this every day, at least once every day, sometimes you're going to have some good stuff and sometimes it's just going to be like this. But it's practice, it's repetition, and that's one of the things that I love about learning something new, is it just takes tons and tons of doing it over and over and over and over again. And sometimes the songs, like I haven't done a happy sounding, major sounding key progression like this in a long time. Usually it's easier to be emotionally sad or angry. That's a lot of what hip-hop and trap and cinematic stuff is all oftentimes negative or angry or sad, emotional. So you got the measure markers at the top there. We're ending at 5 so that we've completed 4 complete measures. And then when the chords are done, we'll move on to the next step. Regardless of whether you're on a nice, more expensive DAW, I don't want to say FL Studio Mobile's not nice, because it is nice. But sometimes the sounds that you use really determine the quality of the thing that you're producing. So having a good piano sound, having a good bass sound, having a good drum kit sound, depending on the type of music that you're trying to make, right? And then it's just adding notes that you think help, or taking notes away that you think don't work for the chord. So I just saved it real quick. Turn off the metronome now that I've got the sound. I'm going to add some drums. Now, in drum mode, it sets it up so that you can put in the kick and the snare and the hi-hat and all of those things together. I like to put them out separately because sometimes I want the kick to be louder or softer than the hi-hat or the snare, or create a different kind of a pattern for a different part of the song. Alright, so notice that we're also going to 5 measures or 5 bars here for the loop. FL Studio Mobile comes with a lot of different types of drum kits. For example, this one is an acoustic, like live drum kit, but they've got a lot of different types of electronic sounds, electronic kits, and you can make your own sounds too. So here's me just trying to play out. I've got my kick, 4 on the floor. I've got a bunch of toms I could put in a fill with toms. Go to drums, use the same basic acoustic set, and I'm going to scroll to the hi-hat that I want to use. And just click in the sounds. On this particular part with the drums, just clicking them in. If you want to take it away, just click it off. Click it to click it off again. So there's another more open hat that I want to put in on the beat, on the off beat. Decided that I like this other hi-hat better, so we're going to put that one in. You can change the velocity with that little half circle over there. Pulling it all the way up is like a volume or velocity to make it louder or stronger. You can drop it down to be more like an accent or a ghost note, shadow. And then it's just playing through and listening to it to see if it sounds good. If you want to add something else, or all right, I'm going to add a new instrument. So we've got the chords going, we've got the chord progression going. Oftentimes The next thing is to do a melody of some kind, or if you're doing something with a vocal, that might take the place of the instrumental. Could also be counter melody. Again, quality sound violins. You can get a lot of synthesized violins that don't sound super great. I like the way that these ones sound. They're not fantastic, but it's an inexpensive music package to add. So again, we're going for the 4-bar loop. We're going to make sure that we go all the way through the first measure. Notice there's a keyboard at the bottom, and instead of just plugging it in, you can mess around with the keyboard on the bottom and use that to help you figure out what sounds, what notes you want to play next. One of my favorite things to do is to watch musicians, songwriters do this kind of thing. One of my favorites is Charlie Puth with Jimmy Fallon. If you haven't seen that video, it's pretty awesome, where he takes a recorder and like a sound recorder and a spoon in a cup, a mug, and they just make all sorts of sounds just from that one recording, that one sound. So one of the things that FL Studio Mobile comes with is this option to do equalizers, all sorts of effects, reverb, delay. You can shape with an EQ band. There's a lot of different sounds that you can do. And again, this is something that I didn't start off doing. I just started off making beats, just trying to figure out keyboards and drums and things. But once you've been doing this for several days, even into weeks and months, you can think, I want that kick to sound a little deeper, or I want that hi-hat to ring a little bit longer. So you could add echo, or you could add reverb, you could add delay. Here's a drum reverb. I really like adding a drum reverb. Really kind of adds some dimension to the drum. You can change the volume of each of the pieces. Remember to save. Remember to save. It's nothing like getting through it and having an app crash. You miss half the stuff that you did. Alright, adding reverb to the piano. I think too much reverb is sometimes too much, depending on the type of music that you're doing. So having something that gives it some dimension, some space, without making it crazy echoey. This is this delay is the trance delay is popular in electronic music, EDM. Not particularly for this song, though it could work. So this is my process. This is the way that I put stuff together. Sometimes doing a little bit of remixing as the music just plays over and over again. How do I want this to sound? Does it blend together? Is there enough highs and enough lows, enough mids? Now the next step could be to add something like a drum, or an 808, not a drum, an 808 or a bass line of some kind. But I like where this is. Tell me what you think. It's not super sophisticated, but this is my process. Putting chords together, putting down drums, different levels of drums, different sounds. Let me know if you'd like to see more. Have an awesome day. Keep making music.